G'day viewers, Oren here. In this video I'm going to create an Azure File Share and connect to it from a Windows Server VM running in Azure. I start in the Azure portal. In the search box I type storage and select storage accounts. I need a storage account to host my Azure File Share. On the storage accounts page I choose create storage account. On the basics page of the create a storage account wizard I select a resource group I created earlier to host the storage account named Zava Storage. When coming up with a storage account name, you need a name that is unique across all of Azure. In this case, I've used Zava Storage Alpha. The storage account will be deployed in Australia East, the same location as I've deployed my Windows Server IaaS VM. When it comes to choosing a storage type, I select Azure Files, as I want this storage account to host a file share. I select Premium Performance, as I want faster rather than slower storage for this workload. I leave the redundancy at locally redundant storage. On the advanced page, I leave the defaults as there is no need to enable SFTP or NFS as this will be a Windows workload. I configure networking so that I'm enabling access only from selected virtual networks and IP addresses. I then select the virtual network and subnet that my Windows Server IaaS VM is connected to. This configuration will block access to any host that's not on this virtual network and subnet. On the data protection page, I leave the defaults enabled. This means that if the file share is deleted, it will be retained after deletion for up to 7 days. On the encryption page, I leave the defaults enabled, with Microsoft managing the encryption keys for the storage account. I complete the wizard and deploy the storage account. Once the storage account is deployed, I use the Go to Resource option to navigate to the resource. On the Zava Storage Alpha Storage Account page, I select the File Service. This opens the File Shares page. On the File Shares page, I choose a new file share. I name the file share Zava File Share and leave the default provision storage of 1024 GB. I leave SMB as a storage protocol as that's the one used by Windows Server. I disable backup for this file share as I don't want to go and configure recovery for a file share that is deleted by the time I publish this video. On the Review and Create page, I select Create. The Azure file share is created. Now that the file share is created, I choose Connect. On the Connect page, I can generate a script that'll mount the network drive. I can choose Storage Account Key or Active Directory or Entra. Here I'm going with Storage Account Key, though using Identity is far more secure. I use the Show Script button and copy the script. No need to freeze frame here as the storage account is already deleted, so the storage key on the screen is already useless. I now navigate in the Azure portal to the Virtual Machines blade and open my virtual machine. I copy the VM's public IP address, minimize the browser, and use Remote Desktop to initiate a connection to the VM. Once connected to the VM, I open Notepad, paste in the script, and save it to the temp directory. I then open an administrative command prompt, navigate to the temp directory and run the script. From the Start menu, I open File Explorer and navigate to my newly mapped drive. I create a folder on the map drive named Example Folder, and in that folder I create a text file named helloworld.txt. I minimize the remote desktop connection window and reopen my browser window to the Azure portal. I navigate to the storage account and then to the file share. In the file share, I select the Browse option, and from the Azure portal, I can see the folder I created on the Windows Server VM and the text file it contains. I hope you found that informative, and I'll see you in the next video.